we released some new features for Savvy Trader that actually is a cool way to show off your portfolio and how it's evolved over the years. So I thought
Okay.
it'd be good to go through. So the two things I want to show off is the new allocation history chart and then the allocation snapshots. Um,
Okay.
so
Wait,
yeah,
what are
okay,
the allocation? Well, you might have to tell me because you're not sharing your screen. You might have to tell me what you want demoed here. So,
that's fine. You're on the first one. You're good.
okay, the allocation history. So this is actually this is a very cool feature that we added that gives you a historical view of what a particular portfolio, such as mine, has held. So you can hover over a particular stock, like Bumble, and see, or like Micron in this case, see how that, like for example, Micron, I started it in late December, and then how quickly it has grown to such a massive portion of my portfolio. Here's sort of Meta where, and this is for the past year, we can actually go back to all time, which in my
Mm.
case is since April of 2026. You can see sort of I was making big bets in Meta in 2022 and 2023. And then as the stock price started to skyrocket, because back then it was around $100 to $200 a share when I was building my position. But then as it went beyond $400, $500, $600 a share, I started trimming my position until more recently where I've been a buyer of Meta again. So
Can you hover over Rocket Lab on the left?
yeah, so there's Rocket
Yeah,
Lab here.
that's a crazy one where you could kind of see the full
Yeah,
story of it relative to your portfolio, where it kind of started out as a small position and has obviously really grown, one from you adding and two from just uh,
the
the growth
price
the stock has had.
skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then I trimmed pretty heavily in this area and since their last quarterly report, which turned out to be a well-timed trim. But again, these things are like hardly predictable. But the reason I had trimmed Rocket Lab pretty heavily is because um, the price had gotten so far ahead of its current performance, and at $150 a share, just again, this is something that I've talked about before, but I think it's great to own great companies, but valuation matters, and sometimes great companies can get investors can get overly excited about a great company, and the valuation can get significantly ahead of its current performance. Now, one might argue that Rocket Lab being down 60% from its highs is back to being in a reasonable price range again, especially with the Iridium purchase that they're making. But the market as a whole is significantly weaker than it was a month ago. So taking that into consideration, Hmm. It's hard to say whether or not this sort of $60 price range is the right price range to add again. Now, it's still a significant portion of my portfolio, so I have chosen not to add just yet. I've chosen to add Meta and Micron, largely because companies that are profitable in a market that is very turbulent are generally able to sort of bring themselves out of ruts, if you will, much better because they can use their profits to purchase stock and so on, do things that companies that are not yet profitable, such as Rocket Lab, can't do yet. So that's the reason why I haven't been adding Rocket Lab, and I have been adding Micron and Meta.
Mm, okay.
So yeah, go
Was there
ahead.
something else you wanted to show for this
No, I
chart?
was going to say let's go back to this thing. What else did you want to see?
Okay,
If we
so
could also like just look at
w-
a particular holding like this, it's kind of cool.
yeah, it's a great feature. I
Yeah,
know I'm
I
a
love
little
it.
biased though.
The implementation came out fantastic. I love it. Great job
Yeah.
on that.
It's just one of those things again that drives me nuts about current brokerages, like even Robinhood,
Right.
and Robinhood's the best of the best, but they don't show you these visualizations that they should be able to provide that just add
Right.
a level of transparency to your portfolio to understand what's going on.
Right. I
And it helps
totally
you better
agree.
manage. Yeah, like history of cash is really cool to see.
Yeah, and you can see like my cash throughout the entire time I've had my portfolio public has been generally over 20%, with the exception of earlier this year when I had to take out some cash for tax purposes, and then I started buying Micron heavily. And then as I unloaded some Rocket Lab, I didn't reuse that cash, and I let it build up back to over 20%, which is roughly where I am right now as well.
Right. Okay, so the other feature I wanted to talk about. So we've had a feature for a while now where you could see all of your previous holdings, but we haven't had a way to show what your actual portfolio was historically. Like, what were all the holdings you held in, December of 2023 or whatever. So now if you scroll up, Hamid, because this is the original feature we released where it just shows everything you held previously.
Okay.
There's a little clock, or you can go to the analytics tab or stay on this tab, but in the positions widget, there's a little clock button next to copy portfolio. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then from here, you could select any month or year to see what your portfolio actually looked like. So I'm curious to see what your portfolio looked like when you started Savvy Trader and maybe how different it is today.
Yeah. So when I started Savvy Trader, that was April of 2022. I owned Twitter, Robinhood, AT&T, which I held as a cash alternative for its dividends. Back then, remember, interest rates were 0% or close to 0%. You might be able to get 0.25 or something in a money market fund, where AT&T was giving like 6% dividends. So I was holding AT&T as cash alternative. Significant portion of my portfolio was in Tesla. FUV was that Arcimoto, that EV company that basically went bankrupt. That was a bad bet. But FFBC was also a cash alternative. This was sort of like another company that, similar to AT&T, was giving roughly 5% dividend. And I was starting to build my Meta position. So if we go back to like still 2022, but go to like December, you can see my Meta position became my largest position within that time frame. And then I had started to get rid of AT&T and cash alternatives, basically. I was betting on Meta and Robinhood and Netflix back then, and a little bit of Uber. So these were my main 4 holdings, and I had already started trimming Tesla pretty heavily. So
for all the people that think you hate Tesla, you were a shareholder for a while.
What's cool about that? Well, I was a shareholder for a long time of Tesla, but what's cool about like the historical information in Savvy Trader is just the level of transparency that you can get. Every single transaction history is there, by the way, and you can examine it. But by having these other ways of seeing what was being held and what was the performance of the portfolio in a given time frame, it's helpful because it helps build trust. And the reason I wanted to build Savvy Trader in the first place is to bring that transparency to investors who seem to be the Michael Jordan of investing all the time on X and Twitter at the time, right? But they rarely share their actual portfolios, and they never do it in real time, like people like Michael Berry, for example. So you don't even know, is he still short Micron, or has he covered his position? He'll announce it at some point in the future, but those things are not in real time. So these are part of the reasons that I am an advocate for transparency, and like I've been sharing my portfolio as a result of that.
Absolutely. You need to know if you're going to, listen to any, or not listen, but follow anyone that is talking about the markets and maybe having some influence on how you interact with the markets. You got to make sure you could trust whoever.
Yeah, I think it's fair to at least be able to say, like, what is your performance?
Right. Like, it's not, and to be clear, it's not that anyone is doing anything nefarious necessarily.
Right.
It's just like, someone could be talking as if they know everything and their portfolio is subpar, like mine, by the way. Or you could follow someone like Hamid, who has genuinely been killing it, for the last 4 years since Savvy Trader has been released.
If you enjoyed this clip, consider subscribing to the Buy Hold Rant podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. New episodes are released every Wednesday, and you can watch them live on YouTube.